Cool. Hey, everybody. Excited to kick into our next portfolio thesis interview. Excited to have the founder of Novameat, Giuseppe. I'm going to give a high-level overview on the thesis for Novameat, and then we're going to dive in and getting his perspective on the creation of the company and the market opportunity. So Novameat is in the category of lab growing structured meat products. And when we were high level from VU's history in investing in kind of alternative meats, which is a pretty broad category, I previously was I was the largest investor in Beyond Meat and on the board for a number of years. So had early success in the kind of one of the largest players in the alternative meat space. And when we launched VU's fund now about 5 years ago, we looked into, well, where is the future going beyond the plant-based protein world? And so we quickly got excited about where things were going in lab growing muscle across species. And if you look at from a high level market size, the market size for the number of meat eaters is significantly larger than the number of folks that eat that are vegetarians and vegans that just eat plant-based protein. And so this world of having an alternative to traditional meat eating, but the lab-grown world has the potential to be significantly greater than all of the plant-based protein companies. And so we set out again 5 years ago, looking at all of the different subverticals of lab-grown meat. And so on one side, we looked at the largest muscle types by species from the fish category of salmon and tuna, chicken, cow, pig, tuna, lobster, shrimp. Pretty much looked at the market size of all of them. And that led us to one of our initial investments, which is Finless Foods, focusing on tuna, which is the largest of the fish categories by market size. Followed by leading us to looking at a company that was doing growth medium for providing very low cost growth medium to kind of help rapidly commercialize the lab growing of all cells, everything from muscles that you would eat to even lab growing biological organs for humans. And then we realized that one of the biggest challenges in the industry was this world of unstructured versus structured. This idea that the initial wave of lab growing was this kind of like, I call it a mush. If you think of the initial things that people are growing are unstructured, but the future is that having an actual fillet of fish or a thing of steak. And so we looked into the whole space on where is the future going on structured meat products. That's really when we came and we identified Novameat. And the key part that really blew us away with Novameat's approach was that it had the capability of doing high volume production in 3D printing structured products, but also the versatility that Novameat had in being able to do both plant-based and or organic cells in the same product. And so really, what Novameat is doing is truly revolutionary for the whole category and can be used by the entire industry. And so very excited to have you, Giuseppe. But that was kind of, I know, early on for when we were thinking of all the ways that this market is evolving. I'm really proud of the portfolio that VU's built because I think we've now identified some of the core category leaders in each of their verticals. And I think Novameat stands out in just the production capability of doing such high volume at a low cost and having versatility is truly exceptional. So maybe excited to kind of throw it over to you. Would love to kind of get, your background was pretty interesting when we first met. I remember talking to you about how we were, we have some other portfolio companies that are lab growing organs. You actually had early experience in even lab growing like an early ear. Fast forward to some of our other portfolio companies that are now lab growing ears. So walk me through a little bit about your background and kind of how you chose to then focus specifically on the problem that Novameat's focusing on.
Thank you for inviting me and great introduction. I think you summarized well what's happening in the category. And yes, about my background, I come from bioengineering. So as you said, I've been working actually 10 years, so a decade in regenerating organs. This space we call it tissue engineering. So I've been working 10 years on bioengineering tissues that would be implanted in the patient, but with the same cells mixed with biomaterials. And my job specifically was on the biomaterial side and having the structure and having these biopolymers so that you could create something that could be an alternative or replacing a damaged organ. For example, it can be a tissue or an organ like a bone, muscle, skin. I've been working on oral mucosa, cornea, etc. So after a decade, I really had the luck to jump into a technology that is bioprinting, in which I've been training them for 3 years when I was assistant professor while I was doing my postdoc. And really, one day I got an idea like you would imagine in Newton or Archimedes, right? Instead of the falling apple, I was printing an ear with my bioprinter, and I was responsible for bioprinting for this university. My friend got the ear and said, Giuseppe, this is very gross. I don't know why you're doing this. It looks like an ear. And I said, you said it right. If it's gross, it means it's working well. We got the right texture here. So I did something very strange. I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. I always have been with this kind of traits of an entrepreneur, like curious and courageous, and really didn't care about what others thought, and I was very resilient, but I wanted to be professor. But then I got into my hands of technology, and I saw the traction immediately from newspapers, from the also from the investors in the space very early on, because it was the time when right before Beyond Meat went into IPO. It was in 2018 when I patented the idea, and then from there I really jumped first with the small machines, like you said, 3D printers, and then lately we've been able to scale up with large machines that use the same underlying technology, which is micro extrusion, but now we can do at tons per day.
Yeah, maybe you can share. So I remember when, as we kind of look to have a quick learning curve over the last few years of there's a lot of different approaches of 3D printing cells and 3D printing materials. We've evaluated, I think, pretty much most of the different approaches that exist. Maybe you share a little bit about why the approach for Novameat allows for such massive scale of production and also at a low cost and with the versatility, because some of the other approaches that are out there for 3D printing take significantly longer and also are not capable of doing as high production quality and don't have the nuanced capabilities and as being as diversified in being both able to do plant-based products mixed with either organic cells or doing even 100% pure lab grown of actual cells. But kind of share the differentiators in the approaches and kind of how Novameat is really a core breakthrough in that.
Yes, so the big advantages normally when you work with 3D printing is high customization, but low speed. When you get something that works and you want to have it at volume, then it's not great, right? So we have both now the 3D printers, which is great for customization. We do dozens of formulations every day, and we test them with top chefs in Barcelona, because we are based here in Barcelona in the Mediterranean, and I'm Italian, so the mix Italy, Spain, it's kind of a very high concentration of great experts in gastronomy around here in the area. So we have a panel, and so we create this original formulation, and the 3D printing is great because I was able, with very low investment, just with small machines, to do all the proof of concept. So I was able to create micro shear forces, meaning that the plant-based material, or you can mix, as you said, with cell-based or mycelium-based. So the idea is, at small scale, it's interesting because you create proof of concept and test very quickly and iterate quickly, which is one of the bases of every startup, right? You want to test quickly and understand what works well and what not. And then what happens is that you create these micro shear forces, as I was saying, so you create microfilaments. And those are the basis of the muscles in animals. So combining those microfilaments and with alignment, or aligning them in the right direction, and combining them in a network with a specific orientation and density, I was able to get this whole cut texture. And I knew then that I was able to achieve something with the right texture and without the need of temperature. So I was able to get the right taste, because I was able to use more ingredients than soy and gluten. Taste and texture with a very easy machine to do proof of concept, and I could even add pattern recognition and go faster than my competitors with very little investments. And what I discovered was that there were very few technologies that were able to do at scale to go beyond what you can currently still do. What I was saying in 2018 and now is not very different. There are maybe 5 interesting technologies in the world that go beyond what is right now used to create the cut in the whole cuts, let's say. And this fibrosity normally is done with high moisture extrusion in the case of chicken strips and some of the chunks, or low moisture extrusion, what is the case, for example, of burgers or meatballs, for example. And I was able to find a new technology, which I called micro extrusion, because from the beginning, I knew that I wanted to scale. And what I found was that the theoretical principle that worked, instead of doing with one single nozzle, very slowly with a 3D printer, at scale, when something worked, then I was able to do with a large machine that simultaneously was able to push through thousands of these micro elements with different shape and geometries, and you can combine this in creating a muscle, simultaneously extruding this material.
Yeah,
and
I think
still,
also for those that are less familiar with the technical parts of all this, I always think of extrusion as like Play-Doh kind of coming out of a straw. And you basically have many, if not up to, can do up to thousands of these micro straws where the material is coming out of. And the core part that you've also developed is this, I think, always refer to as almost like a cement, where it's kind of allowing it to have the structure itself. So it doesn't just come out and kind of mush down. But part of the cool technology that you've worked on is that it's not only the capability of the micro extrusion, like the micro little Play-Dohs coming out, but also the cement, which is really customized specifically by material type, whether it's a plant-based material or a cell-based organic cell type material.
This is 100% correct. Imagine when I was doing bioprinting, we would use, as you call it, cement. In rheology, we call them pseudoplastic, or you can also call fluidificant materials, meaning that they will become stiffer after the process, right? Okay, so it's exactly the right example, cement. It can be also ketchup or mayonnaise with these kind of properties. Is the opposite of what you call dilatant. And this is 2 types of non-Newtonian material, dilatant or fluidificant. And I was using biocements, actually. I was using bioceramics to do the bone, and I was using this kind of material that were able to become very fluid when you were pushing at high speed and then become again stiff. So I was combining in one IP, we decided to create 3 main independent claims on the composition, on the process, and on the product. The most important is on the process, as we are explaining. But I wanted to cover also the composition in case someday we decide to license some part of it, the product by process, and I added some independent claims where you are able to add cell-based material, where you are able to add other kinds of material coming from fermentation, for example, because the technology needs to be future-proof, and we don't know how much of the future meat will be hybrid, combining these technologies to this material. And so the small machine, the 3D printing, great for customization, go faster than your competitors. The large machine is creating a platform in which you are able to become a bottleneck. So instead of using extrusion, the people from upstream, so the ingredients producers, and then the people downstream, so the food manufacturers or the food service, need to use some other new technology that is able to break those barriers, which are currently the problem of the industry. The technological barriers are taste and texture, the price, cost of production, most of it is the price, and the nutritional value. And I was able to avoid those additives, and I was able to avoid those allergens and those soy and gluten that everybody uses.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point about the future proofing was another, I think, really exciting part of what you're doing. Every time we make an investment, we're looking for a few core things. We're looking for companies that are going after some of the largest possible market opportunities that are actionable right now in human civilization. At the same time, we want to make sure that a lot of the times we're doing very frontier deals, and we want to make sure that we're not investing in opportunities where the market might be big mathematically, but it's big in the future, not now. And so what was great about what you were doing from the very beginning is that you had a platform that was designed to make use of a market that exists now, which is a lot more on the plant-based side. And the market is kind of evolving right now. We have a large and growing number of plant-based food companies the next wave that we're getting is going to be these hybrid companies that are doing a mixture of lab grown with plant-based. And then the longer term are going to be the companies that are 100% lab grown. And so the future proofing I also liked is you have a large addressable market now, and the market that will keep on getting larger, that will consistently need some way to do a structured product and not have it just kind of be mush at the end of what's coming. So really clever, I think, on the platform that it had such diversification on the type of materials that it's able to do the 3D printing on. In terms of, I guess, right now where you see the market, I guess, any interesting insights, just even over the last like year or two. I know you helped us with due diligence early on with some of the other companies that we've invested in and or passed on. And it's one of the benefits of building a portfolio with some of the most category leaders in their spaces is to kind of have a better insight with intelligence about where this overall market's going. Any interesting, I guess, directional thoughts about over the last 1 or 2 years and kind of where this market overall is growing, because you're going to be kind of a core infrastructure play really for the whole industry to be built on top of. But any kind of interesting things you've seen in the last 1 or 2 years and over the next kind of 3 to 5 years where you think it's going?
Yes. First of all, I think getting the timing right is the most difficult thing because you don't control all of it. It's a macro, and when the rates go up and then inflation go up, then this cost of production may go up. You don't control the cost of meat, the cost of ingredients which you use to create plant-based meat as we're starting right now. So I think a little part, it's interesting because there has been ups and downs. The Nasdaq has done down for so many companies, including Beyond Meat, including everybody that is in this space. But meat has gone down as well. First is that you really need to understand that even Tyson, even Cargill, if you check, Cargill is private, but if you check Tyson, for example, they're really having some troubles as well. And then the second insight is the good part is that the plant-based meat market is still 1% of the whole meat market. This is great. You know why? Because plant-based milk is about 10%. So if you get something that is comparable at the same price, so you always need to compare the same price. Imagine a Tesla against somebody that is doing a similar machine, but carbon-based. In our case, we do animal-based against what we call the future protein, for example. At the same price, can you compete? And we believe we can take down those technological barriers and compete. And this can become similar to plant-based milk. In that case, if we go up to 10, 15%, what is a white space there is the B2B. What is the white space there is going to food service, which is growing very much according to some new reports that come out these weeks. And so they need us, both the meat companies, both the cereal companies like Unilever, Nestle, Kellogg's. I think the industry needs somebody like us, not only the startup. So not only we do ourselves, but we also receive a lot of inbound, I cannot say names, but some of the largest of the 10 largest food manufacturers, meat manufacturers, or the best startups in the world. We feel that we may be the right new kid on the block because we can help them, and they expect this market. Everybody knows it's similar to electric cars. So now we are in this kind of moment of disillusion, and with this we go up because it's just more efficient, okay? And we think we can grab value. At the end of the day, you need to calculate, can you grab the value of what is growing there from 1%, let's say just 3%, a big B2B, whole cuts, so new cuts, B2B, and being able to do private label, being able to control the cost of production. So we don't design only the new products. We actually are able to produce because we were able to do with a low capex and become a little bit more vertical. So we do not need to license if we don't want to.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a good example of historically being the picks and shovels has been better than being the individual brands. And so what you've built really is the picks and shovels of the industry. But you have the capability of doing both. You've effectively, Novameat can also choose to develop its own brands in the future if it wants to, and be able to be the infrastructure for other brands to build on top of as well. And the key part, as you mentioned, in order for this wave of alternative meats to kind of become adopted, there needs to be a significant reduction in costs. And that's in terms of both on like the growth medium. We have a portfolio company that just focuses on, bringing it from hundreds of dollars to pennies. and then the actual manufacturing side, which is what you're doing, bringing that down by an order of magnitude. All of that makes things more price comparable, and you can get that increase in market penetration, which is, again, from a market sizing, ends up being a pretty sizable market. If you think of that which people are eating of food, it's hard to beat the food size of the market in terms of like other comparable markets that one could be investing in. In terms of where I guess from the challenges when you're thinking about mimicking structure compared to how it's done normally, what have been some of the core breakthroughs that you guys have done to kind of get to that mimicry of having something that has the same texture, the same flavor, any kind of interesting insights you guys have also done to kind of hack that part of the process?
Yes, I think you need to detect which are the technological barriers and which ones you may be able to disrupt. And we think technological barriers are several, but the most important are, as you said, taste and texture. Dairy combines flavor as well, as you said. Then you have cost of production, so the end price. Then you have nutritional values, and then you have the versatility and the availability of these types of products. First, let's go on taste and texture. We are one of the few in the world that are able to go beyond and create new products super quick. Now we have 4 products already that we are selling from 2 months ago in UK, in Spain, in the Benelux area, which is Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. And we are now going to Italy very soon, and then to Germany. And we just started 2-3 months ago. So we got the right product market fit. We believe on these 4 products, but then we have 10 that are in R&D, and 2 are coming before the end of the year, ready to sell. So I think this is versatility, and then we discuss taste and texture. We are lucky that we can have the small machines that do this kind of fast iteration, so you can test with top chefs. And being in Barcelona, where the cost of living is low, you can get top talent. You prefer to have no remote. In our case, we prefer to have people in the lab. So we have a lot of engineers. We have a lot of people that I can grab from all Europe, but I can also collaborate with top chefs. Today, this morning, I went to one very famous chef with 1 Michelin star, and he really said, I like these products. I really was waiting for this because I'm tired of what I can see in the market. So taste and texture, versatility, as I said, of products, coming out with new options, very exciting options that kind of stimulate the curiosity of the end consumers. And then cost of production, you said it needs to be one order of magnitude. Well, our machine is 20 times cheaper than the comparable machine, which is the high moisture extrusion at the same speed, 20 times. So it's a good rule. You need to be better than one order of magnitude. And then what I'm missing, I think it's
on the order of magnitude. I remember when we were early on evaluating you have a few other parts that are also an order of magnitude more significant. So it's not only on the price, but also in the capability of throughput. The throughput capability compared to other approaches for creating structured products. I don't remember what the exact multiple was of, you think of alternative status quo of 3D printing stuff versus what you can do with these high volume, micro extrusion. I guess that is also a significant magnitude of improvement.
Yes, I'm comparing with. Listen, I'm doing something which is conservative. I'm comparing to the high moisture extrusion that does chicken strips. I'm not comparing to somebody that can do our same product. So I'm trying to be double conservative here. And then my machine takes very little space, and we are using off-the-shelf machines, so we don't need to build those machines. We are being able to modify. Remember, we have an IP on the process, which is better than an IP on the machine, because we can modify existing machine, and though the capex is low, and then I said 20 times cheaper, but then our price that we can demand is much higher than those products coming out from those machines, 20 times more expensive. So we did the calculation, all the things inside our module, we can do many of those. And these that you see behind me is in Barcelona, in this background. All the machinery here is, I think it's 250,000 euro, to more or less the same. So $300,000 of machinery inside, while instead just this machine that does extrusion, that machine alone, the same speed that we do, it's about $1.5 million.
Wow. Yeah. So you're kind of at a 5x on that play. That's amazing. And then in terms of I guess when you think back to when you first started this, and even in your earlier days before, just in the 10 years that you've had, in lab growing various things. I guess when you went Devon on this, is there any kind of feedback that you'd give to yourself? I guess looking back on it, any advice that you would have given to yourself on insights that would have made decision making better, or kind of breakthroughs that you didn't even think were going to be possible, but you could kind of say, hey, don't worry, we're going to be able to solve for that a lot easier than you might have thought.
Yeah, at the very beginning, I was discussing with the first investors. First check was from New Crop Capital, now Novis, and I really asked them, "Do you think I should build thousands of printers and just sell like an espresso machine, or do you think I should design and create scale and do more impact?" And then at the beginning, it was really lost, right? But I think I was very lucky that I wouldn't change too much because you learn so much. So it's the learning. You need to be prepared to learn. So I said curiosity, courage, I said confidence, I said constancy, but the other two are focus and obsession. I got so focused on those stages I was at. The first was proof of concept. Then I moved. Next is getting the first money. So we got the fundraising. Then I moved. Obviously, I do so many things at the same time, including was cleaning the floor. But I was really obsessed, and I got obsessed with my competitors. And I knew if my competitors, as you said, 3D printers and normally that are in the space can do 20 kilograms per hour. So I was not comparing with the 3D printers doing now some other hole cuts that you can find in the market. Those are, maybe 2 orders of magnitude below what we can do. So I think I wouldn't change much because it's just you need to learn, and you will. Even if I would teach myself back, it's just the time. The time teaches you. So I think learning it's the most important thing. During the pandemic, I got on Clubhouse, and then when I was washing dishes, I got obsessed on understanding the incentives of venture capitalists. I was obsessed on understanding what was going up and down in the plant-based meat market. I was obsessed with the people that had much more money than us, because in Israel and the US, remember, we are in Europe. My competitors made mistakes much faster than us. And they were unlucky because then now if they're still alive, they have 250 people in their team. All right. And so the burn rate is much higher than ours.
Yeah, no, that's right. You've also been extraordinarily capital efficient. I guess another thing to highlight compared to many other companies that we've seen. And that's one of the most interesting parts I think about the evolution of companies, is that the ability to continue to do more with less as founders is just is exceptional, I think. And you will continue to help that be true with other companies that are looking to enter this overall space by leveraging infrastructure that you're building. I guess in terms of any kind of advice that you would give to founders in general, a number of people that are going to be watching this may not only be investors but other founders as well. Any good guiding principles, I guess, that you've learned yourself over the last few years that you would share with other founders that are maybe at the early stages of developing and identifying what their next opportunity is going to be, or in the very early stages of building out their company?
Well, listen, I'm biased towards what I like most, which is technology. So I had the technology that was at the right time. I was lucky then. And I don't still understand, because I never done, when people are just 6 months thinking what startup should I build, right? So for me, the obvious thing is that if you're working on your work, or you're studying, if you're obsessed about something, as soon as you go out of the university or you go out of your work, that's what you can work on. You need to be obsessed. That's the only rule. I think for founders, you can understand. And the other rule is, it's very similar to falling in love, because you only open a startup if it's necessary. Normally, that's the best startups. When you open them, when you feel that if you don't do it, you would feel very stupid. Just 1 year. And I remember now, I have some kind of I lost memory, because in these last 4 years, I got 2 children, I got married, I was a solo founder, so I did the most difficult thing. I was in Europe, and I got $500,000 alone without a team. Just, it was crazy. And I think the most important thing is that you feel you're doing something that is not just for yourself, that is for society or for the planet. Or if you're doing something which is not just for yourself, not for just the money, and you will detect what it is, because it's exactly what you are obsessed in the afternoon, in the evenings. And I got to a point in my life when I was still in the university. I couldn't sleep at night, and I was envious. I felt ashamed. I told my friends, I'm envious of a friend which is CEO of a company because they opened this bioprinting company exactly in the same university when I was going to do the PhD. But my friend did the PhD. I decided, because of love, to move to Spain at the beginning, and then I didn't open a company. I couldn't sleep, so I was trying to learn what they do, and then I got this opportunity. I got lucky that I could mix bioengineering and environment, and I didn't expect. So I was so lucky that I feel you have an extra force and nobody can stop you. So you can have 5 euros. You are relentlessly resourceful, as Paul Graham says, or you become one. I think in Europe, if you resist here from the very beginning, you normally are either lucky or a very good founder. I think I was not. I'm becoming a good one, but I was very lucky. I got the right technology background and right timing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's one thing we often look for in founders is founders that are not ambitious as much as they are obsessed with what they're doing. They've kind of identified a problem that they absolutely want solved, and they, literally, I think that's one of the best ways to outperform as a founder, is being even more obsessed with the execution and an iteration on that than your competition. And so I think you've done a great job of that. And I think the future that's ahead for this overall space is going to be really interesting. I think a lot of people, I think, are unaware of just how advanced we are right now in terms of starting to produce not just the plant-based products, but also the hybrid products with lab grown. As well as the ones that are starting to be 100% lab grown. The productions of that across the board are starting to increase, and you're going to be a kind of a core engine behind that entire future that's being built out. So very excited to see what we have coming up for the options that people are going to have in terms of what they're eating, and it'll be fascinating to see how the diet also evolves of humans when you do have more options about what you're eating, whether you're a vegetarian or not. The options that you're going to have are going to continue to increase the more that this becomes pervasive. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing everything, and looking forward to continuing working with you as you scale the company. Really excited for the future that Novameat has.
Thank you very much, Sky, because it's going well. I think the problems will be more and more, so we will need more and more help and support. But you have a great background with everything you have done, both in startups and in the space, with Beyond Meat being one of the most important investors as a pioneer. So thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks, Giuseppe.